novelty that was played by Nigel Short in a simul game. E4, as we know, Nigel Short also big fan of the Grand Prix attack. Knight c3, and on knight c3 a6, f4, e6, knight f3, and d5. Well, here we would play d3 normally, and we will get the positions that we just talked about. But Short's approach to this position is also very interesting. And I can tell you this, I can vouch for white to get big positional advantage, but they get at least a comfortable game with a slight advantage. Short played d4, and I really like this move. C takes d. Well, of course, there may be different possibilities. If black plays, for example, knight c6, there may be an e5 move, getting to a French defense with the unclear why a6 was played. It's a possibility. Also, white can play simply bishop e3, transposing to something what happened in a game. Well, anyway, white played c takes d, knight takes d4, and now d takes e. Of course, maybe they didn't want to have an isolated pawn in the center, or maybe they didn't want white to play e5. D takes e, knight takes e4, and now knight f6, knight takes f6, queen takes f6. Let's evaluate this position. What does black have developed? They developed only one knight, which is exchanged, and right now all they have to show for their development is the queen on f6. Bishop e3, I can conclude that white has at least a small advantage. Bishop e3, bishop c5, and queen d2, simply preparing to castle long. Black castles and white castles, and now black goes bishop d7. What black wants to develop the rest of the pieces, and this is actually guaranteed, as I already said, better position for white. Now after bishop d7, Short played bishop d3, and obviously black cannot take on d4. Bishop takes d4, queen takes d4, because bishop takes h7, winning the queen. So black correctly continues its development. So what black did, played knight c6, knight takes c6, bishop takes e3, queen takes e3, bishop takes c6, and rook hg1. It's a good move because it supports the pawn, it protects the pawn, and supports the pawn's movement to g4, g5. Now, this position is better for white because they have clear plan of attacking black's king, and black's pieces are not really as ready to attack white's king. And we know the rule: when kings castled on the opposite sides of the board, huge majority of the times they're gonna start attacking each other's kings, and that's what happened here. And after white played rook h to g1, black has to do something. The black has to come up with with a very constructive plan. So they went rook f to e8. They apparently want to go e5 and free their position. White correctly goes rook d to e1, preventing it. Rook a to d8. And here, after rook a to d8, white goes g4, and starting attack as it was planned. Rook d4, f5. You see, now ef is not possible because queen takes e8 will lead to m8. So after f5, black played rook b4, threatening b2 pawn, and on rook b4 c3, and now black goes rook a4, threatening the other pawn. White goes g5, queen d8, and white goes f6. Black has to go g6 here. Well, taking on a2 is really bad because after queen h3, I don't think black can survive. Now on g6 will be queen h6, and there is no good way to protect h7 pawn. And rook a1 check can be met by king d2, and now black also has the rook hanging on a1 as well as mate on h7. So this was not possible. That's why black plays g6, but in my opinion this position is already very, very bad for black. White goes a3, and now black has these holes on g7, queen d5, and after queen h3, I don't think there is a defense for black. Well, actually there is defense as far as black can go, probably queen d6, and white does have an advantage even if they exchange queens. But white has several different ways to play. They can simply go bishop c2 followed by rook d1. White has better position. And remember, we are looking at this position from the opening standpoint. What we did prove that white has a good game. We're just looking at the game. We proved that white came up with a better position from the opening. Black played rook takes a3 and after queen h6 resigned in a game, but that's irrelevant. What is relevant that we did get good position. Even after black played queen d6, probable move is rook d1, hoping for very strong attack. Maybe bishop c2, and when rook moves somewhere, I don't know, then rook d1. White is clearly and unconditionally better here. Well, that's actually a good idea. And again, going quickly, if your opponent doesn't want you to play Grand Prix, that's what it is against. Your opponent doesn't want you to play Grand Prix, and they go after e4, c5, knight c3, they go either e6 or a6, f4, e6, knight f3, and after d5 we go d4. That's the novelty that was played, and I think I like it so much that next time when I play it, I'm gonna try it myself. I have a lot of theoretical innovation, interesting moves, ideas, and if I have a good basis, good base for this novelty, I would always recommend. And if I see one, I would always use. And this is certainly one of those ideas. Now, you can see all the time in French. French is the kind of opening. We already did cover some ideas in French.